Hello and welcome to the Windows Partner Training. This is Module 1, Windows 10 Enterprise Overview. My name is AJ Smith. I'm a Senior Partner Marketing Manager with the Windows team, and today I'm going to walk you through a brief overview of what Windows 10 means to our enterprise customers. But first, before I get into features and functionality, what I want to do is take a step back and talk to you a little bit about what we're hearing from our customers. So some of the things that customers are telling us revolve around a couple core areas. First is security. They're concerned about the security of their mobile devices. They're concerned about data protection to make sure that data doesn't leak inadvertently or on purpose off of a device. And of course, they're tired of passwords. They no longer want to have to deal with passwords and resetting them and memorizing them. They just want to get out of that business. They're also concerned about mobility. They really want to have their users get access to the apps and the data they need anytime, anywhere. And then of course, there's deployment. They don't want to do big bang deployments anymore. They need it to be much simpler and easier. And because part of this is there's just no IT budget for it anymore. Their IT budgets are just under pressure, and they need help understanding how we can show them how they can save IT costs. So what does this mean for Windows? Well, really what we're trying to do is create more personal computing. And what I mean by this is focusing on things like enabling the mobility of the experience. So I have one device like a phone, and I want to be able to go from that device to another device like a laptop and keep my data, my settings, and have everything follow me around. We also want to focus on having a natural experience. Using a keyboard and mouse are great, but sometimes it's not the easiest way to work with a device. Sometimes you want to use a pen. Sometimes you just want to talk to the device. And with Windows, we want to make sure that we give you a great experience and a natural experience on those devices where it makes sense. And then, of course, we want to be the most trusted platform. We want corporations to feel comfortable putting their information on a Windows device, and that we'll do everything we can to help protect it. We're also working on innovative new hardware with things like Surface Hub and HoloLens, and not just focusing on traditional devices that you would see day-to-day like clamshell laptops. And last but not least, we're moving to Windows as being much more like a service than a typical box product that you see us ship every 3 years, which has some pretty big ramifications for our customers and of course our partners. But one thing you want to be familiar with is that Windows is one converged platform. Windows 10 runs on many devices, including the ones that you see on the screen. Things like a device that runs like the Internet of Things, like a Raspberry Pi, all the way up to devices like laptops, tablets, phones, and even an Xbox One, a HoloLens, and a Surface Hub. And this is a great story because you can write an application for that IoT device and have that same application run across all these other ones. And this is a great story so that developers build once and be able to re-leverage that application across many other devices. But what does this mean for our business customers? Really, our focus and investments are on 4 core areas. First is protecting them against modern security threats. Secondly, how do we help them manage the OS for continuous innovation? Also, we want to help their users be productive so they get the most out of what they're doing and they can move on to the things that they care about more. And last but not least, have innovative devices for their business scenarios. All right, so let's start talking about how do we help protect our customers against modern security threats. And one of our core investment areas is around hardware-based security for better malware protection. And there's 2 features here I want to talk about. First is Secure Boot. Secure Boot allows the firmware of a PC to check the signatures of the boot software, the firmware drivers, and the OS. If the signatures are good, then the firmware hands control over to the OS. Second is Credential Guard. Credential Guard is a great feature in the Enterprise Edition of Windows 10, and what it does is it allows you to take the security information, or the secrets, held by the local security authority and takes them out and stores them in a virtualized instance, which now means that if a hacker were to try to get that information to execute hash-to-hash attacks, it would end up having to be even harder for them to get into it. Secondly, of course, is how do we protect corporate identity from modern threats? And there's 2 areas of focus here. First is Microsoft Passport, which is a great way to enable 2-factor authentication using a PIN, and it's really easy to set up. Now, some of our customers have said, look, PINs are great and all, but I want to use biometrics, and that's where Windows Hello comes in. Windows Hello allows us to use things like a fingerprint reader or even facial recognition to authenticate who we are. So you can basically stare at a camera, it'll recognize you and log you into a PC, and then have single sign-on to some of the other resources that you have access to. We also want to help protect corporate data wherever that data is. And in a future release of Windows 10, we'll bring out what we call Enterprise Data Protection. Enterprise Data Protection allows us to say that when data comes down from the corporate network, it is automatically encrypted on that device. So if you try to take that document, let's say it's a Word document, and post it to Facebook, well, that document's encrypted. Nobody can read it because the encryption key to actually decrypt it and read it is not with the document. It's stored on the device that you have, and of course IT has a copy so that they can read any encrypted information. Now, if you were to copy and paste out of the document and post it to Twitter, IT can outright ban that, or they can give the end user a prompt that says, are you sure you really want to do this? Yes? Great. If you do it, it gets audited by IT, or of course if you say no, it just completely cancels it out. We also want to help eliminate malware on devices, and there's this great feature called Device Guard that helps you do this. Device Guard uses hardware and software technology to allow an IT pro to say the number of softwares that can actually run on the device is limited, and it's a whitelist. So you can say that these 4 programs are the only thing that's allowed to run on this device, and if a piece of malware were ever to get onto that device and try to execute, you'd have a hard time doing so because it's not going to be on the whitelist. And last but not least, we made some investments around creating secure per-app connections for mobile workers. And this is really around creating a per-app VPN connection. Because you know that there are times where an application needs to create that VPN connection to pull in information into that app. So if you have a financial app that's pulling in data, well, that app can actually make that VPN connection, pull that data down, but when you're surfing the web, you're not actually running that through the corporate network. You're leveraging the internet connection you have at home or your coffee shop or wherever you happen to be. Now let's talk a little bit about how we can manage the OS for continuous innovation. One of the big investments was around management choice. And we obviously have made a lot of investments with making sure that group policy and WMI still work, and of course that Windows 10 can leverage your existing infrastructure. But we had a lot of feedback from organizations that said, we wish you would do more around MDM. Give us more MDM support. And that's what we did in Windows 10. We really focused a lot on making sure that there were a lot of hooks from an MDM perspective to get in and manage that OS through an MDM tool. So we provided a lot more control through an MDM solution. And that's also consistent across PCs and mobile devices. As I discussed earlier, Windows is one platform across many devices. So a hook that's on the phone can also be on a tablet. So you have one consistent way to manage that device, be it a PC, a tablet, or even a regular laptop or a phone. And of course, it works with first-party and third-party solutions. We love Microsoft Intune. We partner very closely with them, but we know that not every single customer uses Microsoft Intune. So any third-party solution that can leverage the open standard that we use for MDM can, of course, manage Windows 10. We also took a long and hard look at deployment because we wanted to make it as easy as possible, especially in the consumer space, as they need to have an easy way to upgrade. And all the work that we did on the consumer side has a huge impact on our corporate side. So one of the things we focus on in the consumer space, of course, is making it easy to do an in-place upgrade from Windows 7 or Windows 8 to Windows 10. And a lot of that work has benefits in our corporate customers. So they can do an in-place upgrade from Windows 7 and Windows 8 to Windows 10 without re-imaging a machine. So you know that's one of the hardest things for them to do is build an image, maintain it, keep it up to date, and then re-image all their PCs. By doing the in-place upgrade, of course, they keep their data, their settings, and their apps. And you don't have to worry about reinstalling all those things. So an in-place upgrade is great for those existing devices, but what about the new devices that you buy from your favorite OEM? You unbox that machine, you set it on the table, it already has the Pro Edition of Windows already on it. Well, if you want to take that version to the Enterprise Edition, you can do that without re-imaging now. We have this feature called Runtime Configuration that allows you to go from Pro to Enterprise very simply and easily. And then, of course, you can take off the software that the OEMs provided you, add on your own software to make it unique for that user. But we do a lot of this just to help reduce the validation and the deployment costs that go into managing and deploying a Windows PC. We also wanted to give you choice around identity, and Active Directory has been pretty much the standard that most organizations are using from an identity perspective, and of course by securing their files. But we've also heard that many organizations want to use Azure Active Directory instead, or use them in combination. So with Windows 10, what we've decided to do is treat Active Directory and Azure Active Directory as a first-class citizen when it comes to identity. So now you can use Azure Active Directory to access things like the Windows Store or even log into a PC, which you weren't able to do in previous versions of Windows. So I also want to take a minute to talk about how we keep devices secure and up to date, because this really gets to the idea of Windows as a service. And you've probably had similar conversations like I have with customers that revolve around them being upset that Microsoft releases so many patches each month, and the previous month they had even more, and they're really frustrated by that. But at the same time, in some of the conversations that I have, they also say, wow, I wish we could have this feature in the existing operating system. But those things are really conflict with one another. They don't really make sense because on one hand, they're saying we don't want patches, but then they want features that require a patch. And what they're really trying to say is they're trying to balance agility to get the features and functionality they're looking for and the control they want over their infrastructure. So with Windows 10, we think we've done a really good job at kind of meeting that need across the board and finding that balance. So this is how we do it. For consumer devices, they get their updates installed via Windows Update when they arrive. So when we release new features, they go to Windows Update and those consumer devices just check in as they normally do and they get those features. And this is how we keep hundreds of millions of devices up to date and secure on what we call the current branch of Windows. This also gives us a very large and diverse base of devices to help make sure we have the quality needed for those OS updates to make sure that they can go to business customers. Now, why this is important to our corporate customers is because the BYOD devices that their end users come in with may actually have additional features that they have not deployed internally yet. So if we treated all of our corporate customers like this, there would be some pretty big concerns. So what we have is on the opposite end of the spectrum is specialized systems. Things that are so important if they go down, people get hurt or you lose millions of dollars. For example, air traffic control systems, emergency room PCs, and they are treated very differently. They get no new functionality, and they are on what we call the long-term servicing branch. Because again, that device, all you care about is that it's running those one or two applications that keep that business running. They get regular security updates just like they normally would, and you get to control them with your management tools that you would normally use, like WSUS. Now, not everything is a specialized system, and of course, not everything is going to be treated like a consumer device. There's a big middle ground, and that's business users. And they get their updates after they've been validated by the market. So as consumers actually take the features and we see the telemetry and this feedback from them, once we feel that it's in really good shape, we actually make it available to what we call current branch for business. And at a bare minimum, this is a 4-month delay. Now, if those business devices are connecting to Windows Update, they'll get the set of features right then and there. But if you're using management tools like WSUS or something else, of course, you can actually delay that update for up to 8 months. So for enterprise customers, you have about 12 months of visibility into a set of features before you actually have to deploy them. And if you even take a step back, you actually have even more time to see that feature because we have our Insider Preview program, which allows you to see features as we're building them so you can provide feedback and see how they're actually going to interact with your device and with your other applications. So to help you better deploy these updates, what we've done is introduced a new feature called Windows Update for Business. This helps you keep devices secure and up to date by leveraging the Windows Update infrastructure that we have in the cloud, but giving you the additional control that you're looking for. And some of the things that we enable you to do with Windows Update for Business is things like giving you time to test those feature updates in your organization. So you don't have to take them right away, like if you were connected to Windows Update. You also get the ability to create internal deployment groups. So you can say, the accounting guys go first, the marketing guys go after that, the sales guys go after that. Also, in a future update, we'll give you the ability to create maintenance windows so that you can determine when features should be deployed. We also give you peer-to-peer delivery to optimize bandwidth. So you can say in an office that has limited connectivity to the internet, if one device gets the update, all the other devices on that same network can pick up that update from that first machine. Also, in a future update, we'll give you the ability to integrate it with System Center and other management tools. And of course, you get access to current branch and current branch for business code. Long-term servicing branch, again, is controlled through your management tools that you already have. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about productivity and how end users will love Windows 10. So one of the ways that we make a great experience for our end users is that we wanted to make Windows 7 users much more comfortable with Windows 10. We got a lot of feedback from previous versions of Windows that said, our end users know Windows 7 really well. You've got to make Windows 10 more familiar to those users. So we did things like bring back the Start menu in Windows 10 so that those Windows 7 users had this comfortable base and starting ground so that they knew how to operate the OS without having to learn a lot of new things. We also wanted to create a familiar experience that scaled across devices. So we wanted to make sure that you had a great experience on a tablet, a laptop, or even a device like a Surface Hub. And last but not least, we wanted to help increase user productivity. And there's a bunch of things that we've done in this space. Things like making Snap even easier to use, or making it easy to jump between applications. Because we found that a lot of people didn't know how to jump between applications using the keyboard. So we created a button called Task View in the taskbar. You click that and you can see all the applications that you have running and easily jump between them or close them out. Another great feature to help end users be more productive is a feature called Continuum. And this allows us to take a two-in-one device and make it really easy to convert between keyboard and mouse mode and tablet mode. So while you're connected the keyboard and mouse to that device, you get a great experience. You get a start menu. You see everything that you're used to seeing. But as soon as you pull that keyboard away or fold the device in half and make that keyboard inaccessible, you get a much more finger-friendly environment. Now on the phone, it's a little different where what you can do with a Windows 10 phone is that you can connect that device to a keyboard, mouse, and monitor. And from there, you can treat the device almost like a PC where you could be doing things like Excel on that keyboard and mouse and monitor, but on the phone, actually be doing something completely different like mail or even talking on the phone. So another big investment is around universal applications. This is the ability to run an application across multiple form factors, but leveraging the same core code. So the exact same application runs across all these devices, but the only difference is the user experience. What does it look like on a 4-inch phone versus a 12-inch tablet or a 24-inch screen? That's really the only code you have to change. The core of the application itself is the same across all these devices. We've also included two browsers in Windows 10, Microsoft Edge and Internet Explorer 11. Microsoft Edge is our new modern browser built for that modern web. And there's a few things that you can do with it that you can't do in Internet Explorer 11. First is things like integrate with Cortana. So if you're looking at a restaurant web page and you need directions, Cortana can give you that. Also, it gives you the ability to mark up web pages and then send them over to other people. Internet Explorer 11 is a great browser for backwards compatibility so that all your existing websites that you've built will still work. We have some great enterprise mode functionality that allows you to say that sites you've built on IE 8, 9, 10 will work perfectly fine with Internet Explorer 11. So think about building in the future on Microsoft Edge, but use Internet Explorer 11 as your backwards compatibility browser to make sure that all your existing sites still work. Let's talk a little bit about devices and what we're doing in that space. First and foremost, the thing that you should be aware of is that Windows 10 works great on existing devices. Our customers should not have to go out and buy brand new devices if those machines are already running Windows 7 and Windows 8. They'll have a great experience. Now, if they want additional functionality or some of the new features like Windows Hello, that will require new hardware, so they'll have to go out and buy a new device or buy some accessories. But the core part of the OS works great on existing devices. But for new devices, where did we put some of our engineering efforts? Well, it's really in three areas. First, touch laptops. We want to make sure that if you're using a touchscreen, you have a great experience with that device. So we put a lot of engineering investment to make sure that those touch devices work really, really well. Secondly, pen. We think it's a great way to interact with the device, so we wanted to make sure that if you're using a pen or a stylus, you can easily interact with Windows in that way. And last but not least is the two-in-ones. This is a huge market for our OEMs, and this is where a lot of growth is. So we wanted to make sure that if an OEM was creating a two-in-one device, there's a great experience with that device so they could get the most out of Windows 10. So what should you be thinking about from a Windows 10 perspective and helping customers out? First is accelerate their migration to IE 11. As you've probably heard, IE goes end of life for all versions outside of IE 11 on Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 as of January 2016. So many customers are doing their migration to IE 11 now. Make sure your customers are migrating and help them speed that along to meet the end of support deadline. Of course, help them pilot Windows 10 and build deployment plans, and of course, you should be deploying it internally. Also, profile systems and user groups. Figure out internally and with your customers, should they be leveraging Windows Update for Business? What devices should be on Current Branch for Business? And what devices should be on the Long-Term Servicing Branch? You should also look at adopting Windows Update for Business inside your customers and internally. Of course, test new features as they come out through the Windows Preview program, and join the Windows Insiders program to stay up to date on anything new that we're doing in Windows. And of course, give us your feedback. We want to make sure that we build an operating system that meets your needs and your customers' needs. So with that, thank you very much, and we'll see you in another module.